So when I get back to Washington, I'm going to go with Senator Blumenthal to the Republican and Democratic leader to see if we can find time to move this Russian sanctions package that would give tools to President Trump to help end this war.
The next day.
I'm Will Ripley, and we have breaking news coming into CNN, news that nobody was expecting to hear. We're learning that longtime Republican Senator Lindsey Graham has passed away. His office says he died on Saturday night after what they call a brief and sudden illness. The statement says Graham's family is asking for privacy at this time. He represented the state of South Carolina in the U.S. Congress since 1995.
I'm a night out. I got a text message from Shay saying, Lindsey Graham is dead. I said, I know you lying. Quit playing on my phone, Shay. I go to Twitter. People are saying Lindsey Graham is dead. We have a statement. I say, quit playing on my phone. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. We are on Mitch McConnell watch and other people. I go to Lindsey Graham's official Twitter page. They're saying Lindsey Graham is dead. After a short illness, who knew he was sick? And why are y'all all sick running for re-election? What is going on? Could the listen, I'm not wishing death on nobody, but could the Republicans lose 2 long-term senators? This is crazy. Now, we'll see if his page got hacked, because I just think announcing that Lindsey Graham died at would it be like 2 a.m. Washington, almost 2:30 a.m. Washington, D.C. time, and South Carolina time is crazy to me. But yeah, the people saying, I mean, his page is saying Lindsey Graham died after a short illness. This is crazy.
What's up, family? I hope you're doing well, staying safe, and keeping your mind right, because we got some breaking news that hit late Saturday night that nobody saw coming. Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, a Republican who has been in the Senate since 2003 and in Congress since 1995, has passed away at 71 years old after what his office called a brief and sudden illness. Now, I want to pause right there and let that sink in, because this is one of those stories where you hear it and you almost don't believe it at first. And according to the official statement released on his Twitter page, late Saturday night, Lindsey Graham passed away on the evening of July 11th from a brief and sudden illness, and his family is asking for privacy during this incredibly difficult time. Now, what makes this even more shocking is that this man was just in Ukraine, and don't take my word for it, days before this happened. There's footage of him walking around, meeting with Ukrainian officials, talking about Russian sanctions, giving birthday wishes, looking completely normal. Check this out.
Happy birthday. Thank you very much. Good to see you. Good to see you again.
Sure, good to see you again.
Good to see you. Pleasure. Thank you for coming, Lindsey.
Yeah. Got a little update for you here.
Yeah.
Just tell me when I can talk. But good visit with the president, right?
Yeah, I think that we had really a good meeting.
Yeah,
the mood was
too,
good,
yeah.
and we had some very important results. And I think that the decision of President Trump about licenses, positive signals about Patriot licenses, very important.
We've reached agreement with the White House on a version of the Russian sanctions bill that they will support. It means it's going to become law. So when I get back to Washington, I'm going to go with Senator Blumenthal to the Republican and Democratic leader to see if we can find time to move this Russian sanctions package that would give tools to President Trump to help end this war. There's some things we can do on the technology front to build on the lethality of Ukraine to protect itself from ballistic missile attack. If we did that, combined with creating tools to punish those countries that prop up Putin, that make money off this war, then I think we've got the best chance since I've been coming here in the last 5 years to get Putin to the peace table.
To that. Now, what does this mean in the immediate term? We don't know what this means for, replacing him on the ballot. It immediately takes the Republican conference down from 53 to 52 senators. Everybody has been up in arms and trying to get more information for weeks now about the state of Mitch McConnell, the former Senate Majority Leader. We don't have any clarity as to whether or not he would be back this week. He's been gone about a month now and has been hospitalized with just a very scant bit of information there. So from an operational standpoint, you're down to 51 votes in the Senate, and what they would do in terms of appointing somebody for the near term, and then what they would do in terms of down the replacing him on the fall ballot is significant. That's probably going to be a Republican seat no matter what. I should note that Tim Scott, the other senator from South Carolina, he is in charge of the Republicans' reelection efforts. He is the chair of the NRFC, so that's something that they're going to have to work on.
He was scheduled to appear on NBC's Meet the Press the very next morning. There was no indication that he was sick, no reported health issues that anyone knew about. And a top staffer told NBC News that there was no indication the lawmaker was feeling unwell prior to his death. Emergency personnel responded to a call for cardiac arrest at Graham's Capitol Hill home on Saturday night, according to police scanner audio obtained by NBC News, as you guys can see here on the screen, as I like to cite my sources. So let's get into the article a little bit. It says Graham died. Graham died on Saturday night from a brief sudden illness. And his office has said in a statement, as I mentioned already, his family basically requests privacy during this incredible, difficult time. And then it goes on to say, President Trump laid tribute Sunday to one of the greatest people and senators I have ever known, describing Graham as a true American patriot and a true social post. He later told NBC News Meet the Press that he spoke with Graham on Saturday night, hours before the senator died, adding that other than being tired, he was fine. At the White House, flags were lowered to half staff. In a later post on Truth Social, Trump ordered that all American flags must fly at half staff until Saturday at 6 p.m. Graham was chairman of the Senate Budget Committee and was seeking a fifth 6-year Senate term in November. He was one of the most well-known members of the chamber and a key voice within the party on defense and foreign policy. Emergency personnel responded to a call for cardiac arrest at Graham's Capitol Hill home on Saturday night. According to a police scanner obtained by NBC News, EMS audio later indicated CPR was in progress. And this is Graham on the stretcher, getting escorted out into the ambulance, leaving his Washington home. Photographs from the scene obtained by NBC News show paramedics carrying a person on a stretcher from Graham's home to an awaited ambulance. Police cars and fire trucks were also on site. So there you have it. When you look at that, right? Graham was a frequent guest on the broadcast when it came to Meet the Press, appearing a total of 63 times over the years. Wow. And just like that, a man who was in the middle of his political career, who had just won his primary, who was working on legislation, who was flying around the world doing his job, was gone. So we're going to break this down, look at the different perspectives. Then I'll give my thoughts on what this whole situation really teaches us. Now, here's where it gets interesting, and here's where the story goes from sad to really revealing about where we are as a country. Almost immediately after the news broke, you had people all over social media, like Anna Kasparian, who is basically on the Young Turks, channel on YouTube, who is basically very pro-Democrat of a platform, celebrating the death of Lindsey Graham. And reading some of these reactions, I'm going to read some of them because you need to hear them to understand what you're dealing with, what we are dealing with as a country, I should say. You had public figures like Anna Kasparian, again, I mentioned, say good riddance, as you guys can see on the screen, to Lindsey Graham. And when people called her out for it, she doubled down and said, let me clarify. So someone said, you are a pig and everything that is wrong with the online space these days. Sure, don't like a man's politics, but this is disgusting. And she says, are you offended? Let me clarify. I'm elated that he's dead, overjoyed, just like he was elated at seeing countless dead children throughout Middle East. You had people posting videos, literally smoking and celebrating, saying things like, we smoking that Lindsey Graham pack tonight, which is mind-blowing to me, right? And such a big investment into the gutter, Anna Kasparian says. She says karma happened. Mind blowing, right? So you have these individuals who appear to be, a lot of people would say, that are radicalized, um, you know, coming out and saying these things, celebrating the death of Lindsey Graham. Individuals were saying, literally, as I came across a comment earlier, they were saying rest in piss about Lindsey Graham's death and all types of shocking things, right? Mind blowing things. And it just tells you the respect of humanity, the disrespect for just life, human life. And it tells you how political violence has overtaken and became so extreme that hatred is just entirely fueled by it, right? You can agree to disagree, which used to be possible, but now it's not, to the point where you're celebrating someone's death. In this case, a politician who, in this case, was in the service, Lindsey Graham, and was a very much hard worker. And I understand that Lindsey Graham was a controversial figure. I understand that people disagree with his politics. I understand that he was a military hawk and that he was a strong supporter of President Trump, that he pushed for tough foreign policy positions. But let's be real, family. Let's be real for a second. This is a man who just died, is my point. A 71-year-old man who left behind family, friends, staff members, people who loved him. We're talking about a human being, not a political brand. And the speech at which people jumped to celebrate his death here, as you guys can see, oh man, before his body was even cold, before his family had a chance to process what happened, and before the news even fully broke, that says something about where we are as a society here, right? Looking at this stuff, looking at these comments, and I don't know, man. It just mind blowing. Some people is holding her accountable for it, disgust, and some people are just like, "Yo, I'm happy he's gone." And you know, you have someone say you're a soulless gall. It is really really mind blowing, right? Somebody say he was a psychopathic, bloodthirsty monster. So there you have it, family. I'm not gonna read no more because this is just, stomaching this hatred for the life of humanity is wild. Now, to be fair, you also had a lot of people on both sides showing class and respect. Senator Majority Leader John Thune paid tribute to a strong advocate for the United States. South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster called Graham the fiercest of fighters for South Carolina and America. And you had plenty of everyday people saying rest in peace, regardless of politics. But the ones who celebrated, the ones who danced, the ones who couldn't wait to crack open a bottle and toast to a man's death, that's what stood out, and that's what we need to talk about.
Eric, you are obviously in the middle of the night there. How did you learn the news, and what are you hearing?
I literally got a text notification from my roommate / fellow reporter Pablo Manriquez. He said that Lindsey Graham just died, and I responded by saying a word that I can't say on television. What immediately I'm just trying to put together and process is that Senator Graham is, obviously one of 53. This comes at a time when the Senate is in kind of a state of flux. They were on recess these last 2 weeks, but now, or last week and a half, but it also comes when Senator McConnell has been having health issues. So Republicans really might be down to 51 seats. And also, I think what I would say is that Republicans have lost somebody who could kind of talk some sense into President Trump. He was literally in Ukraine, as Alex said earlier, to discuss legislation on Russian sanctions. President Trump, of course, is not that big of a supporter of Ukraine, and this was something that he was trying to get across the finish line. Senator Graham was also somebody who kind of served as an intermediary between Senate Majority Leader John Thune and Senator and the White House. So it really is kind of this breakdown. On top of that, I think the other thing that's interesting to me is that Senator Graham was President Trump's biggest supporter when it came to the Iran war. Graham was a military hawk, and he made no apologies for it at a time when the
Oh my God. Breaking news. Lindsey Graham just passed away. Lindsey Graham just passed away tonight, Saturday, July 11th. This statement was released on his Twitter by his office. Quote, on the evening of Saturday, July 11th, U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham passed away from a brief and sudden illness. Senator Graham's family appreciates prayers at this time and asks for privacy during this incredibly difficult period. What? We got Lindsey Graham's death announcement before Mitch McConnell's and GTA 6? Sorry. And you know what this means, right? That's now 2 Republican senators down. Well, 1 and a half, I guess. There are currently, well, not anymore, 53 Republican senators in the Senate out of 100. Down 2 brings them to 51. That's a razor-thin majority. They're definitely not unplugging Mitch now.
Good morning, motherfuckers. Let me be the first to tell you. Lindsey Graham is gone, y'all. I'm filming this at like 1:20 in the morning, but his Twitter just released a statement saying, on the evening of Saturday, July 11th, U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham passed away from a brief and sudden illness. So, yeah, if and you would, why don't you go ahead and join me for a celebratory garden salad stick? We smoking that Lindsey Graham pack tonight, or morning, whenever you seeing this shit. Start your day, end it, I don't give a fuck. You gonna do it with a smile. At least I am. I know some of y'all that seeing this are probably gonna be pretty pissed at me, but you know what I don't give a fuck. And you know what Lindsey Graham ain't gonna do? Wake up tomorrow to care about it. And they say nothing good happens after midnight. I beg to differ. Getting this news was great. Anyways, y'all have you a wonderful evening, morning, whatever the fuck. Just do me one favor. Keep the motherfucking boots out of your motherfucking mouth, and remember that the golden rule will always remain yeehaw fucked along. Love y'all. See you down the line.
Lindsey Graham is dead. No, I don't feel bad. I woke up in the middle of the night for no reason. Look at my phone. Lindsey Graham died. What a time to be alive. I wonder if they'll take Mitch this week, too.
Y'all, I had to get up out my bed when I saw that. What is going on? And how long was he sick and ain't nobody knew, just like that other man? Why it's been so hot. That's why it's been so hot. The gates of hell are truly opening. I wonder who else going with him. Don't they say stuff come in threes? But y'all, I had to get up out my bed. This man has been terrorizing the state of South Carolina for years. 4 years. I was not expecting that. Side note, all these old motherfuckers need to be out of... Why are they still working? Why are they still able to work? I wasn't expecting that. I'm still in shock. The way my mouth dropped, I'm still in shock. And I wonder if the man's ass he been kissing all these years gonna send condolences or gonna go to his funeral. The SW's gonna miss his ass.
So, here's the bigger picture, and here's what it really connects to something deeper. Let's talk about what this teaches us, because there's a lesson here that goes way beyond Lindsey Graham. First, think about the political implications for a second, because this matters in a practical way. The Republican majority in the Senate was already slim at 53 seats. Lindsey Graham death drops that down to 52. But here's where it gets even more serious. We still don't know what's going on with Mitch McConnell. He's been hospitalized for about a month now, with very little information coming out. And if something happens there, you're looking at the Senate that could be down to 51 seats, which is a razor-thin majority that changes everything about how legislation moves, how confirmations happen, how the whole government operates. And this is not about celebrating or mourning that. It's just understanding the real world consequences of what happens when a sitting senator passes away. And according to the South Carolina law, Governor Lancaster will appoint someone to fill Graham's seat until January 3rd of next year. So the seat stays Republican, but you lose the seniority, the relationships, the committee positions, the institutional knowledge that a 30-year congressman brings. That's a real loss for the people of South Carolina and for the country. But here's the bigger lesson, and this is what I really want you to take away from this video. Think about the fragility of life. This man was in Ukraine. He was walking around. He was speaking. He was making plans. He was scheduled for a TV interview the next morning, and then he was gone. No warning, no long illness, no gradual decline, just gone. And here's what this looks like in real life. How many of us go through our days thinking we have all this time in the world? How many of us put off the important conversations, the apologies, the time with family, the things that actually matter because we assume we'll get to it later? Lindsey Graham didn't know Saturday night was his last night. He probably had plans for next week, next month, next year. He probably had legislation he wanted to push, meetings he wanted to attend. You already seen what Meet the Press with NBC the next morning. People he wanted to see, and none of it mattered because life doesn't care about your calendar. And I also want to talk about the celebration of death on the left. And I want to say this clearly from my perspective. You will not see me celebrating when a Democrat dies, nor a Republican or any individual. You will not see me popping champagne for anyone I disagree with, or any past presidents, or like Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, James Clyburn, or any of them. And I'm not saying that to sound virtuous. I'm saying it because it's the right thing to do. These are human beings. They are somebody's parent, somebody's child, somebody's friend. And when you reduce a person's entire existence to the policies you disagree with and then celebrate their death, is my point, you have lost something fundamental. You have lost your humanity. The people who celebrated this, they claim to be the compassionate ones. They claim to be the ones who care about people. They claim to be fighting for justice and equality and human dignity, and then turn around and celebrate when a political opponent dies that they disagree with. That's not consistency. I didn't agree with everything Kamala Harris did, but I don't wish death on her. She's somebody's wife. She's a human being. What I'm saying is that's not consistency. That's not principle. That's just hate dressed up in political language. And here's the thing. We've seen this before. We saw it after Charlie Kirk had, the situation, unfortunately, where he passed away. We saw that after conservative figures had tragedies. It's a pattern. It comes with the left wishing death on the conservatives or Republicans more than anything. And it tells you everything you need to know about the difference between people who actually believe in compassion and people who just use the word as a weapon. Because real compassion doesn't matter what aisle you're on, Democrat or Republican. So here's where we land, family. At the end of the day, Lindsey Graham was a son, a brother, a colleague, a public servant who spent 30 years of his life in the United States Congress. Not to mention he was in the Air Force, if I'm correct. Also, that his parents died 15 months apart and he adopted his sister. Now, and I know there's talks in President Trump, our president, considering his sister that he adopted, Lindsey Graham's sister, to take his seat. Let me know what you think about that. But also, you can agree or disagree with his politics. You can love or hate his voting record. You can think he was right or wrong on every issue. None of that changes the fact that a human being died and his family is grieving. And the decent thing to do is show respect, not celebration. And this is where I want to bring in some scripture that really speaks to the moment, because this is one of those situations where the Bible gives you a clear, direct answer on how to handle your emotions when someone you disagree with passes away. Proverbs chapter 24, verses 17 and 18 says this. Do not gloat when your enemy falls. When they stumble, do not let your heart rejoice, or the Lord will see and disapprove and turn his wrath away from them. Interesting, right? Because the woman in this video right here that's on the screen right now said something about hell. Not saying she's going to go to hell or insinuating, but I believe she's a Christian, so she mentioned hell, heaven, hell. Well, that's the Bible. Now, let's break down that in plain English. The Bible is telling you, don't celebrate when someone you consider an enemy falls. Don't let your heart be happy when they stumble. And the reason why it's important, it's not just about being nice. It's about the condition of our own hearts. When you celebrate someone's death, even someone you disagree with, you are revealing something about yourself. You are showing that your political opinions matter more to you than human life. You are showing that your team is more important than the basic dignity that every person deserves. And the Bible is saying God sees that. God sees when you gloat. God sees when you celebrate, and it doesn't reflect well on you. Now, for those who may not be spiritual or may not connect with scripture, here's the life wisdom that applies to everybody, regardless of your beliefs. Every person you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Every person you disagree with has people who love them. And every person who dies leaves behind a hole in somebody's world. And when you celebrate death, you are training your own heart to become harder, colder, and more bitter. You are not hurting the person who died. They're gone. You are hurting yourself. And you are damaging your own ability to feel empathy, to connect with others, and to see people as more than their political labels. And here's the practical truth that nobody talks about enough. You're going to die one day. We all are. I'm going to die one day. And when that day comes, none of us are going to be thinking about the political arguments or labels we put on each other, or like I said, arguments that we won politically, or the debates we dominated, or the people we outsmarted online. We're going to be thinking about the people we love, the relationships we built, the difference we made. If you spend your life celebrating the deaths of your political enemies, what exactly are you going to look back on? What legacy are you building? Lindsey Graham was 71 years old. That's not old by today's standards. He had more years ahead of him, or at least he thought he did. But none of us know the day or the hour. And that's the real lesson here on when we're going to leave this earth. Not the politics, not the Senate majority, not the celebration or the outrage. The real lesson is life is short, it's fragile, and it can end at any moment. So spend it on things that matter. Spend it on love, on family, on community, on being the kind of person who doesn't celebrate tragedy, but instead brings light to a world that already has enough darkness. Rest in peace, Senator Lindsey Graham. My thoughts are with his family, friends, staff, and the people of South Carolina who he served for 3 decades. Hit that like button, share this video with somebody who needs to hear this message, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and turn on those post notifications so you never miss an upload. Most importantly, spread that peace, love, and positivity, and let the love supersede the hate, family. Peace.